We here in this House have a sacred obligation to stand for truth, to stand up for the Constitution, to stand as guardians of the Republic.
And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
That's obviously standard hyperbole.
They brought out a woman on a stretcher.
They're banging on the windows. They're banging on the doors.
This is out of control.
This man is dangerous. He has defied the Constitution.
People thought that what I said was totally appropriate.
The president bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack. He should have immediately denounced the mob.
These votes will be inscribed on the roll of history, a record of courage. This vote is not about timing, it is about principle.
Vote against impeachment. Vote in favor of a unified nation.
Let's end this obsession and charade, and let's get to work.
A police officer was killed, and what I hear is time to heal. He's not even buried yet.
It's time to impeach.
It was a culmination of 4 years of assaults on our democracy. We must impeach this president.
222 Democrats and 10 Republicans elected to represent the United States in Congress have voted to impeach President Donald Trump for incitement of insurrection. 197 voted against. The ayes have it.
When Donald Trump was impeached December 2019, Democrats argued he had abused the power of his office. And today, they labeled him a seditionist and a proven threat to the nation.
Madam Speaker, last week I stood in that gallery to defend this chamber against a violent mob called here by Donald Trump. I have dedicated my life to the defense of our nation, and Donald Trump is a risk to all that I love. Some of my Republican colleagues are afraid of the consequences of an impeachment vote, but this Congress sends our young men and women to war every day. I'm not asking you to storm the beaches of Normandy, but only show a fraction of the courage we ask of our troops every day. Leadership is hard. It's time to impeach.
President Trump's actions, encouraging, inciting a mob that stormed the United States Capitol for the sole purpose of stopping the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes, cannot go unanswered by this body. He must be impeached.
It's clear the president learned nothing in the last year. Yesterday, the president said again he did nothing wrong. This man is dangerous. He has defied the Constitution. He's incited sedition, and he must be removed.
All three of Colorado's Republican representatives voted against impeachment.
Ken Buck went all in on whataboutism while explaining his decision.
Lauren Boebert used a term we cannot ever recall hearing on the House floor.
And I would say that we need to look no further than ourselves to find out what happened and to look at history. Americans were frustrated when they learned that the FBI was investigating the Trump campaign. They were frustrated to learn that the Obama administration and the DNC had created this false campaign against the Trump administration.
I call bullcrap when I hear the Democrats demanding unity. Sadly, they are only unified in hate.
Now, the timeline for a Senate trial changes by the day, but at this point, it appears the 19th is the absolute earliest it would occur. A two-thirds majority is required to convict, meaning that at least 17 Republicans would need to sign on. And unlike the president's previous impeachment, that is currently within reach.
Federal prosecutors say a Colorado man was carrying an assault rifle, a handgun, and more than 2,500 rounds of ammunition when he was arrested in Washington last week. Investigators say Cleveland Grover Meredith Jr. threatened to kill House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and others he deemed traitors. He arrived at the Capitol too late to join the riots, but was arrested later for allegedly headbutting someone.
Heightened security at the Colorado State Capitol tonight as lawmakers return for a brief session. Denver7 political reporter Megan Lopez is joining us live tonight with details on day one. Megan.
And today was certainly not like any of the opening days that we're used to seeing here at the Colorado State Capitol. As you mentioned, increased security, about none of that pomp and circumstance that you're used to seeing during the opening days, and already some drama. So it was likely going to be a later night for the House, and that's because they were debating rules to even be able to start getting to work until about 4:45 p.m. They can adjourn for the night, but they're trying to pass some bills within 3 days dealing with COVID, and there's a process to that. So if they're planning on getting out by Friday, they have to do it today. Now, one of the bills fixes a law that passed in the special session that provides relief to minority-owned businesses. There was a legal challenge to it, so they say they need to fix some of the wording. Another one will help occupational therapists work remotely legally during COVID, and there's a few other fixes that they say they need to make.
In terms of deadlines are expiring on debt collection, deadlines are expiring on allowing elderly Coloradans to sign their wills remotely. And we're making sure that we're cleaning up some things that we didn't get exactly right during the special session to make sure money can get out to businesses that need it most.
Political parties coming up in the next few weeks will hold organizational meetings where they'll elect their chair and vice chair. One of the bills that you'll see during the 3 days will authorize those organizations to hold their organizational meetings remotely.
So really, we're only talking about 6 or 7 bills that are going to pass in these 3 days. The real work will begin in mid-February after the recess and after the legislature reconvenes. Lawmakers told me they're hoping that COVID numbers are low enough at that point that both lawmakers and the public will be able to participate in the process. And of course, legislators were offered the vaccine, so they're hoping to be vaccinated by that point. I'm live in front of the Colorado State Capitol. Megan Lopez, Denver7.
Megan, thank you. Pitkin County will slide to level red because of a sharp rise in cases of coronavirus.
Denver7 Sean Dole spoke with the people behind the decision and with those who will be most affected by it.
Thanks for calling me. Meat and Cheese restaurant in Aspen isn't serving the numbers it's accustomed to this time of year.
It's unfortunate.
Monday's decision by the Pitkin County Board of Health to move back to level red this weekend, closing all indoor dining, is only adding to their pandemic problems.
I'm really tired today just because of the amount of energy that we've all put in, and it's a lot for sure.
Pitkin County has one of the highest incidence rates in the state, which prompted this whole move, but for an area that thrives on tourism, this really hurts.
We really felt like it was time to take more significant action.
It's not a move the county says they wanted to make, especially in the middle of tourism season.
These are our busy times, and so this is a particularly painful time for our business community.
Since the county began mandating affidavits from all tourists in December, more than 45,000 tourists have signed in. Numbers that add insult to injury with the health department's decision.
Mountain's still open, hotels are still, they're still rocking.
Well, not exactly. The number of international visitors has plummeted, and the slopes here are accessible without a reservation.
We're not really hitting the limits that we set for ourselves right now, so we haven't had to undertake any additional limitations.
Which helps, despite the resorts needing to stop indoor dining themselves.
It impacts us less than it impacts the restaurants down in town.
We've had the lowest number of people in the lodge since we reopened for the winter.
Aspen's lodging industry has kept up with those tourists who are still coming. It's why this is one industry that's on board with the decision.
It's the right thing to do. It's really the only thing to do, and we have a very small hospital.
Allison Campbell says she understands the short-term impact comes with some pain.
Being in the red is a bad thing, but we're going to fix it. And, I think we're taking the right stands on it as a community, and I think it's still okay to come here.
Restaurants hope to get 5-star variance approval from the state. To get it, there needs to be a 2-week drop in the infection numbers first.
It's kind of saddening.
The county says this is a tough call. The hope is it will head off an even tougher winter and spring.
Nobody likes what's happening, but we have to get healthy.
Sean Toll, Denver7.
The 7-Eleven on East Iliff in Aurora and Olive Garden in Pueblo, a Papa Murphy's in Denver are now among the notable additions to Colorado's list of active COVID outbreaks. At nearly 2,700 cases, the University of Colorado Boulder remains the most active hotspot in our state.
Small businesses that received loans during the first round of the Paycheck Protection Program are now allowed to apply again. Monday and Tuesday were reserved solely for those who didn't make the cut the first time around. New protections are also in place to ensure large corporations don't steamroll the little guys, and businesses will need to provide further proof that they actually need the money.
Going back and kind of looking at the documentation on the front end, and actually we did change second draw so that the number of employees is actually less. So the maximum that you can have is 300 or some kind of size standard. And in addition to that, you actually have to prove that you had a reduction in revenues from some quarter in 2019 to some quarter in 2020 of 25%. So we really are looking at businesses that were still hurting.
The Paycheck Protection Program is complicated, but there are people out there who can help you navigate it. And we have posted a list of resources on thedenverchannel.com.
Second round of stimulus payments came with half as much cash, but just as many problems. As Denver7's Jacqueline Allen reports tonight, many would-be recipients have been held in check.
The second stimulus checks, meant to be a financial shot in the arm.
Why aren't you reaching out to us?
For many have become a pain in the...
I definitely don't understand why it has to be so difficult.
Glendale resident Rhonda Wetzig and her husband had no trouble with their first stimulus check, but the second came up short.
We definitely needed that $186. That was the difference. And I can't find any information, so that's why I reached out.
She's not the only one reaching out to contact Denver7. A lot of people are telling us they haven't gotten their stimulus payment at all, and the clock is ticking.
By law, the IRS has to issue stimulus payments by January 15th, but the rollout hasn't exactly been smooth.
There's a lot of hype about this.
Aurora resident Polly Keener was impatiently waiting for his payment when TurboTax sent this message. Millions of payments were sent to wrong accounts because of an IRS error.
I mean, $600. Lights stay on, groceries get paid for.
He just got his money, but an unknown number of people are still waiting. You're supposed to be able to check the status of your payment on the IRS website. Just like last time, though, some people are getting this response: status not available. We checked. The IRS website now says if you get this response, you will not receive a second payment and must claim it on your 2020 tax return. We still don't know why Rhonda didn't get her full amount.
It just says if you don't get the full amount, that this is what you need to do.
But we did find out she needs to claim a recovery rebate credit when she files her taxes.
And when I do my 2020 taxes, I will definitely do the recovery credit and see what happens.
Not exactly what Congress had in mind for immediate relief. Jacqueline Allen for Contact Denver7.
The Broncos have a new boss. We'll tell you all about him after the break.
This cold front won't bring much moisture, but it'll bring a whole lot of wind tonight and tomorrow.